Bryson Gilbo here with Justin Elick, taking a look at some GPP bats today. Got an 11-game slate. I mean, decent arms, I guess you could say, on the hill. I mean, at least a couple. But for the most part, we're probably stacking away with a lot of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite as bad of a pitching slate as we had Monday, but it's still not a great one. There's a couple guys that I like, but I mean, there's really only one guy that stands out to me as a guy that I feel like I need to have some exposure to.
Yeah, that's what, Pineda.
Yeah, I mean, KC offense is just horrible. I mean, Sabathia shut him down last night. Pineda's got 30% strikeout rate. I mean, I think he's just kind of the lock and load play. If you're playing one lineup on FanDuel, you're probably playing him unless you're trying to be contrarian. And DK, play him, and I think you would just be different at your second SP spot.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you because I mean, it's like you have Porcello, Hendricks, Cole, Schumacher, Fulmer, Fulton. It's like guys that are like just good enough to maybe make you think about not taking guys against them.
Yeah, it's like the list of all the pitchers that everyone has extreme opinions on that people either think they're aces, like Cole and Hendricks, who are not aces, that people think are aces, and Porcello, who people think should have won the Cy Young, who should not have won the Cy Young, who's actually been terrible this year. And Fulmer's all right, but it's a tough matchup. Urban Santana, another guy, not that good. I mean, people think that it's not like he's a rookie and he's all of a sudden just good. I mean, he's an above average pitcher, but that's it. So it's definitely one of those nights where you're going to see people take their extreme stances on certain guys, and most of them are wrong.
You're right. Everyone else is wrong.
As always.
Looking at catcher, this is probably a spot where I'm not particularly thrilled about paying up at because, I mean, you do have some cheap guys. Lucroy is starting to come around a little bit. I'd like Texas bats here against Eflin. I mean, I know Eflin's tossed a couple of outings where if you stacked against him, you're probably not thrilled that he's on the hill tonight. But I like Texas bats here, and I like Lucroy.
Yeah, and I mean, Eflin's a guy that he doesn't strike anybody out, always pitching to contact. So, I mean, it makes sense to play anybody with power against him because, you know, he's not getting hit particularly hard necessarily, but 34% hard hit rate is still not good, and a 235 BABIP. So you kind of imagine that he's getting pretty lucky still. So, you know, you had that game against the Cubs where he kind of just tossed it there and said, please hit it to somebody the entire game. I think he had like, what, 1 or 2 strikeouts. So, I mean, he's definitely a guy that I'll be targeting.
Yeah, I mean, 8% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. I'll talk about a couple of lefties here because Eflin does struggle against lefties later on. But Wilson Contreras, I'll take a look at 2,700 on FanDuel. Looks like another win game out there at Wrigley. So, I mean, even if Contreras is hitting 6th or 7th, I mean, I'm okay with firing away. I know Feldman's more reverse or struggles more against lefties, but in that ballpark with that run total again, I'll be okay with it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you kind of want some exposure with any kind of power bat you can there. So we'll see what Devin Mesoraco's status is. I know Hendricks is tough on righties, but 2,400 on DK, near minimum on FanDuel too, with the wind blowing out. The guy, you know, still isn't quite the player he was a couple of years ago, but the Reds are taking it easy on him, so you don't know if he'll be in the lineup, but the upside's definitely there for cheap.
Yeah, I like him as well. Anyone else you like a catcher?
I mean, I believe that Jason Vargas is better. I don't believe that he's great. So, I mean, I think Gary Sanchez is going to be crazy high owned again. So I'll probably have some exposure, but I think in cash games, if you have the money, which you probably do, you can play him. But I think in tournaments, there's some merit to fading him.
Yeah, I think so too. And I also think Victor Martinez is going to draw higher ownership just because, on FanDuel, of course, because he's catcher eligible there. But coming off a big night against Jimenez, I mean, expect the Tigers to be popular plays, just given Jimenez is one of the worst arms on the slate.
Yeah, and I mean, Martinez still really hasn't shown much upside, but because that lineup's been so good, I mean, 21 RBIs. So, yeah, I think he's an okay play there. I probably won't. I don't know. 3,400 on DK is still pretty tempting, though, against Jimenez. He's given up over 2 homers per 9. So I'll give him a look, but probably just save him for Tiger stacks.
Yeah, no, definitely with you. First base tonight, I mean, you have the red-hot Freddie Freeman, who's, I mean, honestly, this year has been the best hitter in baseball.
Wow.
Has he not?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely up there. He's definitely close. I mean, if we're going last month, I'm going Mookie Betts. But, I mean, we're splitting hairs here. You got him, Mookie Betts, Bryce Harper, Mike Trout. Yeah. You can't go wrong with any of those guys because they're awesome And I mean, I'm glad it's Freddie Freeman because for the last couple of years, he hasn't had that power upside. He's just been a really good hitter. And now he looks like a great hitter. So I'm being facetious here. I mean, Freddie Freeman is a god.
Yeah, and now SunTrust, I mean, playing, kind of to his strength.
They built that stadium for him.
Yeah, I mean, just 6 homers over the last 2 weeks or so.
Yep.
I mean, I like him. I think ownership's going to be high on him. I mean, he was up at 30% the other day. He's kind of getting to that status where Eric Thames was in April, where it was all right, he's basically hitting a home run every other game. The GPP fade move, it's it could pay off if you fade him, because if he's at 30% and he does nothing, which has been tough, you do get a bit of an edge.
Yeah. And speaking of Eric Thames, he's got that strep throat, which obviously doesn't really affect you as much as a baseball player, but also facing Chacin, who's been one of the worst pitchers maybe ever against left-handed batters. So I'll definitely give him a look, especially because, people probably aren't necessarily looking at him tonight on this bigger slate at his high price, hasn't played in a couple of days, hasn't homered in, 8 or 9 games, something like that? No, 6 games.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
For him, a long time, but for most people, not.
Yeah, I like Thames. I like targeting lefties and Petco. You always get lower ownership. I think Rizzo's going to be an extremely popular play. You were talking before the show. I mean, Porcello allowing a crazy high hard contact rate, and Matt Carpenter is just never a guy people like to play at first base anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Porcello's given up almost a 45% hard hit rate to lefties, 42 to righties. I mean, Carpenter, one of those guys that, I mean, he's been mashing the ball. His hard hit rate over the last 2 weeks, almost 54%. So every time he's getting up there, he's smashing the ball. His fly ball rate's way higher than it's ever been in his career. So he's one of those guys that, was always the cash game guy before. He's your third baseman, and nobody ever played him because there's so much upside. Now that he's first base, kind of the same situation. But I think he does have that upside. Maybe not quite the Freddie Freeman type upside, but not far behind it, and for significantly cheaper. I think he's a really good option tonight that people won't really be on.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say he doesn't have upside. I mean, given over 200 ISO against right-handed pitching going back to last year. I mean, I know at some point in his career he was just kind of more of a contact hitter, but I mean, over the last 2 years, he's really developed some power.
Yeah, no kidding. So I mean, I'm all aboard on there, and Jose Abreu too. Matt Shoemaker giving up almost 2 homers per 9. Abreu still getting a little bit unlucky, still hitting the ball really hard. So, I mean, his overall numbers this year don't look great quite yet, but over the past couple of weeks, I mean, he's been mashing the ball. And I don't think the wind's going to be blowing out quite as much there tonight, but probably a little bit of wind still. So I think Abreu's a nice swerve. I mean, there's a ton of options at first base tonight.
Yeah, I like Abreu. I mean, as you said, Schumacher, fly ball pitcher, ton of hard contact. Yonder Alonso's a guy I'll take a look at. Christian Bergman getting a start. I mean, yes, he's an ex-Coors pitcher, but this guy was not good even away from Coors. Is a reverse splits pitcher, but the way Alonso's been swinging the bat, Bergman's not exactly good against lefties either. So, I mean, I'll take a look at him more on FanDuel 3,400. I mean, pretty good swerve. Hard, though, with Miguel Cabrera being only 3,500 right there.
Yeah. I mean, you get a lot of low ownership, though. I mean, I think there's going to be low ownership on a lot of these first baseman guys. And one more guy I'll throw out is Justin Smoke. He's been mashing the ball recently. Mike Foldenwitz he's improved, but throughout his career, still struggling against lefties big time. So, Smoke's a guy that all of a sudden, I mean, he was striking out a ton before, but this guy's got 5 walks in his last 2 games, homered in 2 of his last 3. So now that he's got some plate discipline, I mean, he always had the power stroke. So, I mean, I think his price is up a lot too on DraftKings, 4,200. So I think he's going to be crazy low owned for a guy with some upside.
God, Smoke was always the guy. Last year, I hated seeing him in people's lineups because I'd never played Justin Smoke. I think once last year.
I did a couple times, but I always hated myself for it because there'd always be a better play for a couple hundred more. I mean, I would cringe.
Yeah. God. All right. Yeah, I like Smoke. As we said, that ballpark is playing towards lefties. Second base here. I don't know how much I'm intrigued with paying up at these options. I mean, especially if Ian Happ is going to be hitting 4th again if Zobrist is out. I mean, I'll take the chalk there because fading the chalk kind of struggles if you get Happ who's having a decent day.
And he's 2,700 on DraftKings too. I mean, I think he was more expensive on DraftKings yesterday, wasn't he? Was
I
he?
want to say he was in 3Ks. Yeah, I
He
don't
was
remember
like
for sure.
3,400 last night.
Yeah, hold on.
I
Let me
think
check.
he was 3,600 last night.
Yeah, I
If
don't.
the homer scores 22 fantasy points and they drop him by 900. I mean, I know it's not Bronson Arroyo. Feldman's been decent, but that's crazy. I mean, he's going to be insanely high owned tonight. So if
Yeah,
you're playing cash games, you just play him and then you move on. It's simple.
yeah. And FanDuel, I mean, he only got bumped up $100. So
Crazy.
yeah. As far as price guys go, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Ian Kinsler, I don't mind. I mean, I like the Tigers' offense tonight. Him leading off's not a bad spot. I don't feel like he's overly expensive either. Um, and I think he'll be fairly low owned. I don't think he'll get a ton of ownership on him.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. I mean, second base is a spot that I really just don't like a lot tonight. I think going back to the St. Louis thing against Porcello, Jedrico's got plenty of upside. He's hitting for average too. So his price is kind of up on DK, but similarly priced guys, Castro against Vargas, I don't love. Odor against Eflin's okay, but he hasn't been very good recently. Dozier against Marquez. I mean, I think he's aside from Daniel Murphy, who even though he's playing Garrett Cole, I always love him against pretty much any pitcher, anything but elite pitchers, which Cole is not. So I think Jerko is probably my favorite upper mid tier guy.
Yeah, I like Jerko. I can get behind that. And I mean, we were talking. I think Cardinals are going to draw low ownership just because Porcello is perceived as that strictly above average arm who you kind of tend to fade. But on this slate, I mean, it's big enough to just fire away against them if you build multiple lineups.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not stacking those guys in cash games or anything, but I mean, I'm not a believer in Porcello this year. I think he's been bad.
No. I like Odor. I mean, probably more than I should because he has not been good, but he is hitting the ball hard. I mean, these Rangers bats do strike out a ton, but I think given that Eflin doesn't miss a lot of bats, I'm okay with it. And I know Eflin this year, I mean, only a 256 WOBA allowed to lefties, but 38% hard contact rate. So, I mean, in that ballpark, I do think Eflin has the big blow game. I just feel like he's definitely been rolling lucky.
Yeah. I mean, he's a guy that I like. I definitely do. And he can throw a punch. So, I mean, he might punch Joey Bats in the face. I mean, I'm always going to give you just a little bit extra credit, just anyway.
But outside of that, I don't like a ton. I'm not a big VR guy right now. Pedroia in that ballpark, I'm not really thrilled with either. So I mean, it's kind of slim pickings.
Yeah. I'm not thrilled with second base tonight.
So third base, I mean, I think if you're looking for upside, you can definitely look at Bryant in that ballpark and with the way things are going. But I don't know. I mean, I think you can also take some shots with cheaper guys too.
Yeah. I mean, Joey Gallo, you mentioned, Eflin pitching to contact. He's a guy that strikes out a ton. I mean, his batting average is under 190, but among the league leaders in homers. So you're not playing him, hoping for a 3-4 hit night because it's probably not going to happen, but you're playing him for his just monster power upside. So I'm a big fan of his tonight if you're paying up there a little bit. But I agree with you there. Definitely Bryant top option.
Yeah, I think so. I like Gallo, and I like Maikel Franco as well in that same game. I mean, Martin Perez, I like the Phillies bats. I'm not going to go crazy about him tonight just because Perez is one of those guys where he'll go 5-6 innings and give up like 3 to 4 earned, and you got to pick your right spots. I think Franco's in a good spot though at the right price.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I like that upside. Ryan Healy's another one that's got upside. I mean, you mentioned Christian Bergman is absolutely terrible. So I'm about those Oakland bats. I'll get myself plenty of those. I think a guy that we'll talk about in a minute is definitely my favorite, but Healy's definitely got some power upside there.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, outside of that, I mean, if you want to go contrarian, I know we said Hendricks is tough on righties, but Eugenio Suarez is a guy who has shown some upside. I mean, usually like to target him more against lefties, but with that wind, I mean, and Hendricks not being as good as he was last year, I mean, I'm okay with taking Suarez in like a red stack or just going completely contrarian.
Yeah, I mean, he's been hitting pretty well too, so I like that. And then, if you're going to go really cheap, Yomer Sanchez, if he's batting at the top of the order again, which he should be, homered last night, 2,300 on DK against Shoemaker. So I think if you're going to pay all the way down, that's an easy option for me.
Yep. Anyone else you like here at third base?
No, not really.
Shortstop, I like Trey Turner. Stolen base upside's really there. Garrett Cole slow to play. He's tough at holding or sucks at holding runners on. Turner we know can steal a base. It's just a matter of getting on.
Yeah, I mean, I love Trey Turner. I know he's kind of gotten to a slow start aside from that huge game he had at Coors, but
It's coming around. It's coming
yeah.
around.
Oh, he is. I mean, he homered at back-to-back games a couple days ago, so he's still a guy that I throw in there as strangely kind of a contrarian option, especially on a night like tonight. Where some people will be on Cole. So I think you get him sub 10% ownership probably tonight. I like that. Ben Segura, I mean, he's just been tremendous this year. Um, doesn't really have a lot of upside. He's more of a cash game guy for me, and I don't really like to pay that much for a cash game guy. But I definitely think he's an option tonight.
Yeah, I do too. And I think, as you said, going up and paying up for these high price shortstops are probably a contrarian move. Because outside of that, I mean, I might take a look when lineups come out and see if we can get someone somewhere in a decent spot. I mean, I don't mind Addison Russell or Kozar here once again, just playing in that game, because I think you're going to see 12, 14 runs between the two of those teams.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And then he's probably going to bat ninth because he's been batting ninth. But, if you want a tournament option, he's actually been hitting finally recently. Dansby Swanson isn't in too bad of a spot. I mean, obviously you don't want to go too crazy with guys batting low in the order, but, throwing your Atlanta stacks, make sure you keep him in there.
What about superstar Eric Sogard all of a sudden, who's like bouncing back? He got the new frames in there, and now he's going off. Come on, 2,400 on FanDuel.
He is no Chris Sabo. Like that whole that copyrighted BS. I'm over that. I mean, I know he's been really good, but I don't know where the hell this came from because the guy has never been good. I mean, he hasn't even been average. He's been a bad baseball player for his entire career. Now all of a sudden, like, I don't know. He must have. I don't know who. He's got Barry Bonds helping him out. Somebody's helping him out.
Man, he's been pretty good.
He has been good, but I'm not a believer.
No, it's been what, a 2-game sample size. I mean, if he's hitting second, I will definitely punt away with him if I need to pay up elsewhere.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you consider him there, but not because he's good, but because he's cheap.
Yeah, that's really the only thing in a good lineup spot. Because also, I mean, I don't love a lot of shortstops. I mean, Ledimus Diaz, maybe I'll consider. He's come around over the last few weeks, but this is more of a lineup and kind of wait and see what comes out.
Yeah, definitely.
So, outfield, I mean, you got your high-priced guys. I still think Betts is my favorite. I know Leake's a little bit tougher on righties, but he's another pitch-to-contact guy. Betts is absolutely heating up, too.
Yeah, Betts has been incredible recently. So I mean, Trout always is going to have highest ownership. He has the best matchup of the three there. So respect that. I mean, didn't homer last night. Pretty embarrassing, but still scored almost a home run worth of points, I guess. So, of course, you always consider him. But on a night like tonight, I don't think he's a necessity by any means. So a guy that just continues to mash and nobody ever plays him, Matt Kemp.
Yep.
Again, in that ballpark, I mean, among the league leaders in batting average and just always sub 10% owned, and I don't understand why. I mean, he was a good hitter before. It's not like the guy just came out of nowhere. So I'm going to keep riding that Matt Kemp train as a contrarian option.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you. I like him a ton. Chris Davis for Oakland's a guy I'll take a look at tonight, given that Bergman's been reverse splits in his career.
He's so cheap.
Yeah, there's so much power with him. I mean, we look at Bergman, 417 WOBA allowed to righties in his career, 1.97 home runs per nine, and Bergman does not miss bats. Like, this is the perfect spot for Davis because, you like getting at guys who don't get swing and misses.
Yeah, and it looks like Davis has been bad recently, but he's got over a 40% hard contact rate for over the last 2 weeks and a 182 BABIP. So, I mean, he's mashing the ball. He's just hitting in the wrong places. So, yeah, I love Chris Davis tonight.
Yeah, cheap. I mean, I expect a little bit lower ownership, so good late night hammer there. Benintendi's a guy I'll take a look at because I just feel like that Cardinals Red Sox game is going to be low owned because it just is perceived to be one of those mediocre ballparks, two arms that don't give up a ton, but I feel like this is a good contrarian game.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. And then JD Martinez is probably going to be way higher owned than I won't say than he should be because it is Jimenez. He's got 2 multi-homer games already. I mean, the guy always had insane power. So believe in what he's doing. Don't believe in Eric Sogard because he's going to keep doing it. But JD Martinez, fade him at your own risk tonight, I guess, in that matchup because Jimenez is horrible and he is just absolutely locked in.
Yeah, I like him. I like Upton as well. I mean, I'm going Tiger stack again, so I'm with you. What do you think about the Pirates bats? I mean, the outfielders McCutcheon. McCutcheon's been bad this year. Ray Polanco's been quiet, but this is not a bad spot for them.
No, I mean Jacob Turner's been he's given up almost a 48% hard contact rate to lefties. Um, he's been actually pretty good against righties in small sample size, of course, but I don't know. I never get excited about these Pirates bats because there's just not a full stack that I like. Like you said, McCutcheon's not the player that he once was. You got Gregory Polanco, hamstring injury, didn't play last couple of days. Maybe he doesn't play too. I don't know. If you get somebody cheap, I guess, like a Josh Harrison, maybe. I don't know. Maybe somebody else near the top of the lineup, but I'm just not. Despite the matchup, I'm just not excited about them tonight.
Yeah, I mean, they've been a bottom five offense, but it's just you see Turner out there, and you're like, all right, Turner's the guy we stacked against, a fair amount when he was in the bigs with Chicago, or Miami, wherever he was. Yeah, I mean, I can see if I'm building multiple lineups, maybe I slip a couple in, but that's about it.
Yeah, I agree.
So, anyone else you like here?
I like Aaron Altair. He's been mashing everybody. We know Cashner's been better against righties and lefties in his career, but I mean, he's still not. He's a serviceable pitcher at best. Altair's been killing it, so I'm a big fan of his here. And of course, Duvall Shebler for the Reds around that same, a little bit cheaper. I mean, power upside. Both guys have actually been pretty similar, and Duvall always seems to be much higher owned.
Yeah, I definitely like that. I think if I'm tossing out another cheap guy, Ben Gamble for Seattle, if he's in the lineup, which should be against Hahn. Hahn hasn't been too bad. Has had some notable struggles with lefties in his career. But Gamble, I mean, this is a guy with tremendous upside, and he's never really getting a ton of ownership. So, I mean, I'll take a look at him.
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
So, but outside of that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, you don't without aces on the board, you don't really need to pay down for any of these guys. So, I mean, as I'm looking at these really cheap guys, there's really nobody that stands out a lot to me. So maybe wait and see, how lineups come out, who gets good spots. But I mean, one guy super cheap on DK if he's in lineup, but he probably won't be Patrick Kivlahan for the Reds, 2,200. Doesn't have a ton of upside, but I mean, with the wind blowing out there, almost absolute minimum. I mean, and he's got the right side of that split there. So if he's in, I mean, I'd throw him in, but nobody down there, as usual, as there shouldn't be anybody down there you get excited about.
No. And as you said, with pitching the way it is, and if Ian Happ's in the lineup, that's a free square and free salary. So,
Yeah, exactly.
So let's wrap things up here. If you want to check out dailyfantasycafe.com, all great tools and content.